Welcome to the Money Business Podcast. I'm your host, Neal Regino. I'm here with Emily Zimmerman for another part of Zimmerman Watch Repair. So I want to get into the actual business part of this. So we talked to Drew about the actual product, and I want you to take me back to you finished school, you were in Florida, West Palm Beach. I'll never go deep sea fishing again after that. And then you come back. He's got this business started, and yeah, tell me what it was like to actually get involved, and let's take it through kind of the first phases of the business. What that experience was like.
Okay, so it was really different going from working inside a jewelry store and just having a lot of coworkers to then coming up and working with Drew in his family's jewelry store. Because I'm not only just working with my then boyfriend, but his mom and his dad and everyone that's connected in there. And then families coming in all the time. Like grandma lives upstairs, so she pops down all the time and we're, chatting. And every time I'd come in the morning, she's always sitting outside and we'd have a great conversation because she was actually a crystal fitter. So we had a bunch of fun conversations about that when she worked in Pittsburgh. It was definitely difficult, right? Because you can't vent, or I had to really hold maybe my emotions in if I was getting frustrated with Drew at work because his parents are right there. So I was very aware of that. So I did end up changing my schedule around where the jewelry store, it's a little mom and pop jewelry store, but there's a lot of employees in there. There was probably 13 people in there. So I found it a little bit distracting for me because I came from when I worked in West Palm Beach. It was a very quiet, serene, small room, but it was just me and this other guy, and we would listen to audiobooks. So we had our groove going on, and it was a little difficult for me to get through the chaos of the jewelry store. So I actually switched my schedule around, and I would start work maybe around 11 or 12, and then I'd go home for dinner and then come back and work into the wee hours of the morning because I could get my zen then, and I didn't have so many distractions, I would say.
Well, let's talk about what are you actually doing then and even now, because I think it'll be interesting for people to even hear that part, the machines and what you're actually building. And
yeah, so back then I was the main watchmaker. Drew had 2 employees. It was me and this other gentleman. And I am very goal oriented. So I had a number that I wanted to take home every week for my paycheck. And I was doing piecework. So I knew how many watches I had to pump out in a week to get that paycheck. So at that point, I was doing 12 overhauls or 10 overhauls a week. And I would disassemble the whole movement, clean it, do repairs as needed, install new parts, lubricate, and then get it into timing tolerance for whatever caliber it is. And then after that, I had a system, right? I would tear down 4 watches, service the movements, put them back together in 2 days. And then the following 2 days, I would go and refinish all those cases, bracelets. If they needed new crystals or crowns or tubes, I'd install those, do all the water testing, and then marry both the case to the movement. And then it would start timing out so that we can see if it's in tolerance.
Remind me to get back to that in a little bit. But
okay.
What you specialized in this, you were building these watches. But so then take me to, you started as an employee, right?
Yes.
And then talk about when did you actually transition to being an owner? Was it when you moved into the house, or was it after marriage? What exactly happened for that transition to?
So Drew's always the owner. He's the sole owner of the business. But I moved into more of a managerial role when we started having kids because I had a hard time staying laser focused, which I had no problem doing before. Just the fluctuation in hormones. I didn't have consistent time sitting there. Like I would work for 3 to 4 hours at a time, whereas before I would go for these long stretches where I could get a lot of work done. So the whole thing, it was a bit overwhelming. So I remember asking Drew, I was like, I need to switch roles here until I'm more settled and my kids are back in school. So that's kind of when I went for we switched roles. I was more managerial then, with all the accounting and everything like that. And Drew then went to the bench 100% of the time, which it seemed to work. It still works. But now, coming full circle, my kids are going to school. I'm so excited to get back on the bench full time. And we have a much larger team. So I don't have to be, my hands don't have to be so much in the managerial area.
So let's back up there then. So you leave the jewelry store, you built this business inside of the basement, right?
Yeah.
What was the first hire that you guys made when you brought in somebody from the outside?
It was 7, our refinisher. She's been with us for 11 years in 3 days.
Nice.
So, and she was a Lowe's manager, and she was just kind of burnt out of doing customer service. So we wooed her away. She had no watch knowledge at all, except for that she was interested in watches. And so we built her from the ground up. We taught her how to refinish. The first 3 months was basically just teaching her how to refinish a watch. She didn't touch live product until about month 2.5. We just had her, we trained her just how we learned at school, working on nuts and bolts. We'd bang them up with a file. She had to make them flat and look perfect again. And then we found dummy cases, like just old Seiko cases from the jewelry store, and we would kind of do the same. And then I just remember that transition going into live product. She's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, but you just did it perfectly, like 30 times in a row. You got this. So watching her grow, and that we were able to teach her to refinish, she's now renowned in the world. Everyone knows her. No one can touch her quality. She's phenomenal. Like, I can't even. She's surpassed Drew and I in what she can do, which is your biggest hope, right?
Yeah.
When you hire someone.
Not every owner or business or manager actually does hope for that, so that's a good thing. A lot of times that's a big mistake that owners make, where they want to be the best and want everybody that works for them to be inferior to that, which obviously hinders growth. So it's good that you're promoting people, that you want them to be better than you, that you want them to be more productive than you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how do you actually build revenue? How do you get out there? I know you have a social media presence. I know Drew's been all over the world going to trainings, classes, whatever it is, and you guys are always getting the word out. But do you actually have a, before when you first started, was there a concerted effort for sales, for marketing, to actually get business in the door? Or were you always trying to keep it to, this is our capacity, we want to hold it here?
So in the beginning, when I was still in Florida, and when I wanted to move back up and start working with Drew, he was really nervous, because he's like, I don't have enough work for you, because I was telling him my numbers that I was hitting consistently every week, because I went to my employer down there and I was like, I would like a raise, because this is how much I'm bringing in. But they said no. And I was like, okay, I'll even take training. Will you send me to training? Because look at what I'm doing. And they said no. So that's when I had a realization. I'm like, why am I still here if I can't grow in any way? So he was very concerned. And when I came up, we made packets of our product, of what we can do, of our turnaround times. And then we did go down in the Baltimore area, and we visited jewelry stores and gave out our packets, and had that face-to-face, which I feel like is missed now. But we got, maybe 15 accounts out of that. And a lot of them were ORJs, so they sold the Rolex product. And then for whatever reason, they lost the account. So their clients were used to a certain standard of quality in a repair. So it was very easy for us to slide right in there, because we were doing the exact same thing. We have a Rolex spare parts account. We can provide that exact same quality of repair. So it was very easy for us to make that leap in there. And since then, that was the only time we ever did marketing, because we then got flooded. It was kind of like the Baltimore area, all the jewelry stores talk, and they're like, oh, this is who we're using. And then it kind of grew from there. And we haven't really had to market since, and because we were at capacity. As we tried to add employees, maybe that will change. But we kind of shifted, where maybe we don't want the volume. We're looking for more unique restoration pieces where we can provide the client with something that they really can't find anywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where you were doing all that work and you were turning everything out, and now Drew's doing a lot of that. Have you had any issues with actually giving that work up to the other employees? Because I know you now have a number of employees, and especially when your name's on the line with quality, it's got to be a hard thing to give up micromanaging a little bit. So,
It is.
So how do you handle that, and have you overcome that?
No, I haven't overcome it. I have major trust issues because it's our name. You're exactly right. No, I still have, we quality control nearly every step of the way, which does kind of bog us down. But I do have a newish hire. He's been with us for nearly a year now. He started in August part-time and then went full-time in January. This was another kind of situation like Seven, where he knew nothing and I built him. He's a very unique individual in that not everyone that I train is going to be like him, and I know that. But I can already see in the next 4 years, he will be on par with my level, which I find is amazing. And I could see where I would not have to quality control his work, where that trust is there, and he's so meticulous, just like Drew and I, that I could kind of relinquish that, right? It is difficult, though, because not every employee has that drive or that tenacity to be perfect, right? Yeah, it is difficult. No, we do try to back off, but at the same time, Drew is always the end quality control, so he looks over every single timepiece before it leaves the shop, and he is finding teeny little things, like maybe there's a teeny little speck on the dial that you wouldn't see because he's looking under the microscope. So he'll go back in and get it out because we're known for our quality, so we're trying to keep that up there.
Yeah, and I think you guys do a really good job of being out in the community, getting your name out there. I think, look, I'm not on social media, but I hear a lot of people always talk about your videos, how they're like mesmerizing watching the pieces being made and the repairs happening. And it's pretty cool that you've been able to build this, and I've been lucky enough to see it from the ground up. So it's been nice. So
yeah.
So I think that's enough to get started now, and then I'd like to have another meeting with you and Drew, and we'll talk a little bit more about where you're heading and go from there. It's wonderful to see the success you've had so far, and see that building that's so beautiful that you guys put together, and seeing your vision come to life there. So we'll go from there. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next time.